Welcome to the Awakened Healer podcast. I'm your host, Mary Beth Vanderlinden. I'm an ordained Christian minister, international intuitive healer, healer trainer, speaker, and retreat facilitator. On the Awakened Healer podcast, myself and a wide variety of fascinating guests will share our gifts and divine experiences. I won't shy away from diving deep and asking big questions during these conversations. In turn, we will open up and share our deepest thoughts on spirituality, angels, intuitive development, crystals, healing of all kinds, and how bridging ancient wisdom with modern science can bring you to a deep and profound healing in every area of your life. Welcome to the Awakened Healer podcast. This is your host, Mary Beth Vanderlinden. We all experience trauma or shock at some point in our lives, and I just want to look at the effects it has, especially on your spirit. So when I refer to shock, I'm referring to a state of being or a reaction to trauma. It can be physical trauma, mental, emotional, even spiritual trauma. And there's just so many things that can make that state occur, from subtle events to really dramatic ones. Any event that happens has the potential to put you into the state of shock. And when that happens, we move forward from a really unbalanced, unsettled, ungrounded place. Shock is when the spirit actually disconnects from the body. That unsettling feeling afterwards is indicative of a spirit it's just not grounded anymore. It's not even in the body anymore, like you're out of body. And I love how the biomedical terminology, they state the sympathetic nervous system is described as our flight or fight response. And that's exactly what this is. When we go into shock, the spirit is either fighting to survive through that experience or flight. It'll fly right out of our body. And so it's really survival energy at its highest. It's an adrenaline rush, but then when that rush ends, you're left just totally depleted. And in Chinese medicine, the kidneys process fear. And so fear taxes the kidneys and our adrenal glands. Oftentimes you'll see people with adrenals borderline of adrenal fatigue, which is where you're just flat out in bed for months. They're so depleted, and trauma can do that. It can deplete them, 10%, 20%, but sometimes way more than that. And then that causes you to go into that adrenal fatigue. Fear can make it so that we're always in fight or flight mode. And that also leads to extreme adrenal fatigue, just that constant state of anxiety, unease, the need to be on guard at all times. I know I've talked to different clients, young women who, during their marriage, they've maybe been cheated on. And so they're constantly on edge, wondering like what's happened now. And, they're checking phones and checking computers and just constant, and they're just upset and in turmoil all the time. And when I look at their adrenals, they're borderline adrenal fatigue from being constantly in that fight or flight mode, or people that have had accidents, like really traumatic accidents, or people that have suffered loss, like shocking, extreme loss. That grief just never leaves. And I see them also where their adrenals are just so drained. it's also a hormonal imbalance. The yin and yang is so out of balance that it throws everything off. And it's functioning off of a belief that implies it's not safe to relax, a belief that says it's not safe or beneficial to just be. And that's why it's so important to ground, really solidly ground every single day. That helps as much as anything can to bring you back into that state of being in the present and kind of taking you out of the fight or flight and out of the fear and out of the anxiety. Grounding really helps with that. So it's functioning off a belief, like I said, that, you're not safe and everything. So when you can never relax, you're always on alert. You're always in high stress mode and everything. So I've experienced many shocking stories in just this past month. I also saw a lot of unresolved shock in people. And I mean, I've always seen it in all the decades I've been, doing healing, but it's getting more and more and more, even just because of the news. The news is constant. Every time people get online, like news pops up. Every time people get on social media, news or shocking images pop up. And so it's bombarding people much more than ever before. Many of us are still carrying past trauma in our bodies. Some of us are still functioning from that unsafe to relax or be me space. For some, there are opposing beliefs of both safety and survival in our space. And we have to have that willingness to let go of the past, a desire to heal, and really, do all we can to call our spirit back into our body. And still, some past trauma just, it's almost impossible to resolve on your own. You need help with it. And so I keep, catching myself saying to people, your emotions are valid, because they are. You don't want to discount what they're going through. The way people feel right now is appropriate. If they just suffered, a death in the family and they're going through that extreme grief, it's okay to feel how you're feeling. It's okay to be frightened or nervous or vulnerable or anxious or disappointed. All of that's going to come after what, different people have experienced. It's also okay to have, insomnia. That just comes with the territory. But at some point, your body's calling you to let go of that, to bring it back into a state of normalcy. If nowadays there is such thing. But really, it would be great if we had like a fast forward button to heal and to just resolve these things and get over it. But we're all unique. We're all different. We all process these things differently. What is really traumatic to one person may be a bump in the road to another person. It would be great if you could go from weighing 300 pounds to 120 pounds, overnight, but that doesn't happen. It takes extreme amount of effort, extreme amount of time. And so lots of things would be fantastic if it happened overnight, but that just isn't the way it is. And some of these things took you years or decades to have them, manifest the way they have in your body. So you can't expect an overnight or a, flip of a switch change in that. You have to put the work in to heal. And so we've got to accept that it just doesn't, work that way. And for most of us, for the most part, it's a process. It was a process getting there, and it's a process getting back to your true self. And it may take some time, and we want to honor the process so that it, can be as smooth, but also as complete as possible. So even that process serves us, even though, you wish you could just wiggle your nose or snap your fingers and be out of it. That process is something that brings a deep level of profound healing. And so try to really connect to your physiological responses, your thoughts, your emotions at this time, and just really trust whatever's coming up. Make a list and really acknowledge it. Be honest with yourself. Be fair to yourself. What are you really experiencing? When did it start? What event happened when you started feeling that way? Feeling lost or feeling overwhelmed or anxious or stressed or frightened, it would be much more empowering to really experience it and gain some clarity in it. Acknowledge what happened and where you're currently at. That helps you release any disserving energies and beliefs lingering in your space. Going to the dark place and staying there sometimes makes it more comfortable. It makes the darkness safe and not so scary. It helps create that safe home you'd like your spirit to ground back into. So sometimes just like turning everything off, just being alone, having peace and quiet. I know after a death in the family, sometimes everybody bombards the parents or the spouse or the child that lost a parent, just they constantly want to be there for them. And, they want to know that people care and that they do have support. And yet when they can just never be alone to process what has happened and never be alone to feel what they're feeling, they can never really go through the healing process. And so it's kind of a fine line, sometimes some people are left completely alone. They have no one, and that's not good either. But then sometimes they're just smothered with people. And again, that keeps them from having that space they need to process things. So, we're just all so different. Each one of us possesses life in our own unique ways, and you want to be patient with yourself. Be really gentle with yourself. Celebrate yourself for being in an empowered place where vulnerability or fear isn't paralyzing you, or where you've, gone beyond that stage. If you're feeling things, if you're emotional, you're more than likely shifting energy. So good for you. It'll only be a matter of time before you're saying, I'm healed, I'm getting over it. And so these are just some things that came up to talk about. There's just been so much. It's like every day I'm seeing on social media, just person after person after person posting that either, a child or a parent or their spouse or their pet has passed away. And so many people are in that like shock stage. And I just wanted to, bring this up so that people kind of know what's going on and, how to deal with it. And there's also some, like a physical thing that you can do. If you press down with your fingers right underneath your collarbone and go down that space between your ribs until you feel the third space. And you want to be about 2 inches from the center of your chest, like 2 inches out from the center. And then the third opening between your ribs down. And This is often called the spiritual burial ground. It's K24, your 24th kidney meridian. It's great for when the spirit needs to be resurrected, to find that spot. And when you do find it, and if you kind of take your 3 middle fingers and kind of tap, you'll feel that it's tender there. There's blocks in the energy, and so it makes it tender to thump your chest in that spot. And when you're experiencing a sense of disconnection, like something's not right, this point helps ground your spirit back into your body so you feel like yourself again. And so just, take those 2 or 3 fingers and try it for a minute or 2. Just tap, not too gently, but, you don't want to just pound a hole in yourself, but, really tap. And like I said, it's going to feel sore because there's blocked energy there. And just try that whenever you feel anxious. Try it when you're looking to feel grounded. Just, it helps make you feel safe to relax. It helps make you feel like you again. And you may even actually feel this huge sigh come out of you, just like, I'm back, because it helps bring you back into your body. And so give that a try. I just wanted to share this conversation with you because I've had it so many times this week with different clients. And so because it's coming up and coming up and coming up for them, then it's coming up, overall for people. And so I also wanted to let you know this is the last podcast I'm going to be recording for now. I'm going to be taking a break. I have a technical person that does all the editing and emails and all that type of thing. And I'm looking for somebody new. So if you know anybody that's really good with social media, really good with technical things, websites, that type of thing, I'm looking for somebody. And also, I'm going to be switching to YouTube. And so all the shows that I've done so far, we're going to be transferring them to my YouTube channel. It's just under Mary Beth Vanderlinden. And so you can check out YouTube, and the show notes will have the YouTube link in it. And so you will be able to go back and watch the different shows, get that information. There's other things that have been recorded that are also on my YouTube channel. And I really thank you for tuning in and listening. If I do come back to doing the podcast, I'm trying to figure out a way that it can be interactive. I would like to be able to actually take calls from the audience and everything. So I'm checking into a lot of different things, but over the summer, things get real busy and hectic with my grandchildren. And so I thought, well, this is a good time to take a break from this, check out all the different ways that it can be done. And so find me on YouTube, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen, and be blessed. Until we talk again, bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on the Awakened Healer podcast. Did you enjoy the show? If yes, please subscribe and give me 5 on a review, that is, on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review or your comments and let me know what you loved or would love to learn about on future shows. We all need encouragement, including me. Find out more information on my website at spiritledhealinginstitute.com. Be blessed, and remember, if you're good with you and good with God, you're good.